authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
9:36, the Clement Manyathela Show. Tshidi Madia standing in for Clement Manyathela. I'll be with you until 12 o'clock, and then the midday report will roll in. We are discussing a variety of issues. It is the open line. You set the agenda, as I said. I was asking about the fuel levy earlier on. The EFF is in court fighting the fuel increase that's meant to kick in tomorrow. Part of my considerations, my conversation really is, should we always have government that's compelled to deal with these issues, to reconsider its take on issues in the courts? We saw it happening with the VAT hike not too long ago. We're seeing it with this. And there are questions about whether or not this is the right move and whether or not this matter before the courts will succeed. I want you to take a listen to some of the voice notes that have come through.
It is. Tshidi, look, good morning. I think I can understand the EFF's position because remember, we didn't know this stuff, but now we know and we have seen it, how it played itself out. Action SA, Bossa were misled and stuff like that. And the courts did clarify that position. And right now, a big question to even a layperson like myself is, if the minister introduces this fuel levy hike, how is it different from that? And secondly, how come is that the parliament is yet to vote on a budget, but already the fuel levy is up? Is it that not even unconstitutional on itself? So yeah, but we wait and see. Sfiso.
Thank you so much for that voice notes, Fee. So I actually have on the line with me Wayne Duvenage, who's also from OUTA, because OUTA, the Organization of Undoing Tax Abuse, has also weighed in on whether or not it thinks the EFF has a case here that is possibly winnable. I see that the EFF spokesperson, Sinawa Tambo, Wayne, good morning to you as you join me. Sinawa Tambo has actually responded to your comments. You spoke to the SABC, and so Sinawa Tambo looks at your views and he says that you make a strange and confusing argument, saying that on the one hand, you argue that the minister has followed all that is required in terms of the money bills in Parliament to increase the general fuel levy, but then in some strange way, you also go on to say that he doesn't need to. Just let's start with your position as OUTA on the fuel levy and the decision by the EFF to fight it in the courts.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Tshidi. So first of all, every year the Minister of Finance tables the budget. In the past, they've had a majority of ANC, and they get it through Parliament through the vote. And they've never had to consult Parliament on should they apply a sin tax on tobacco, on alcohol, should they put the fuel levy up by X amount or not. That's the decision of the Finance Minister, and it gets passed in Parliament through the majority vote. This year around, there was a difference because things have changed. They couldn't get through budget 1, 2, and they managed to do so in 3, and that includes a 16 cents in the fuel levy. Now, we're not advocating that the fuel levy should go up. In fact, we've been saying for years the Minister should stop increasing that fuel levy, and he actually has done so for the last 3 years. It's at about R3.86. And it has increased by 110% over the last decade. So this 16 cents is another 4%. And I guess it's a case of you've got VAT, which you've declined on, and it's the lesser of the two evils is do you put 16 cents on the fuel levy? It'll only give them about 4 billion rand, well short of what they were asking for. So all I was saying is that I don't think the EFF has an argument that they're going to win in court. I think the minister has followed due process on this matter, but let's see what happens. We can't see how they're going to convince the court that the minister hasn't done it properly.
But to motorists, when the conversation will still be, this is unfair, what must happen, what are alternatives? I mean, you are right in saying you're not necessarily advocating for the increase in the levy. There are no other remedies. I mean, I listened to Deputy President Paul Mashatile saying that the ministers looked at all the other avenues and there was no other place but to go this particular direction. From OUTA's perspective.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've been saying for many years now that government should stop coming to the public for tax increases, whether it's company tax, PAYE, VAT, fuel levies. They've done so incessantly for too long now. They should be looking introspectively. They should be cutting their own cloth, tightening their belts, deal with waste, deal with corruption, maladministration and inefficient systems. And it's sad fortunately, the new government of national unity has now sent them back to the drawing board, and they're having to go that route with some adjustments to the fuel levy, which again is a last resort, and we would not want that, but they've got those powers. Remember, the fuel levy went up every year for the last, since prior to democracy and after democracy, 25 cents every single year. It went from below 2 rand in 2014 or 2010, 2014 up until 3 rand 86 cents. It was just getting out of hand. But for 3 years, the minister never increased that levy. We do say that government needs to start reducing the waste, deal with corruption seriously now, and stop coming to us for more money until they get that right, and until they follow the recommendations from the commissioner that said, invest in SARS and they'll go and fetch more uncollected taxes. That's where they should be looking there. But they've been lazy. They've been maladministering our finances for far too long, and they should stop any increases. In fact, taxes should go down if they become far more efficient as a government.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to leave it at that. That's Wayne Duvenage from the Organization of Undoing Tax Abuse, speaking there about that matter that's before the Western Cape High Court today. The EFF is challenging that fuel levy that's meant to increase, that's meant to kick in tomorrow. And he is correct that it's been 3 years of no increase, but to make up for the VAT hike that was dealt with in the courts, the minister is now turning to the fuel levy. The EFF saying actually that's a no-go as well. And it's also tight because it's meant to kick in, tight in terms of time. The constraints are really tight because it's meant to kick in tomorrow. So we'll see how that unfolds. I do know that EWN is following that story, so we'll listen out for that throughout the day.